My girlfriend told me nobody's holding you hostage at my work party. So I left. She's now calling me dramatic. I need some perspective here because everyone's telling me I overreacted, but I'm pretty sure I just did the smartest thing I've ever done in a relationship. My girlfriend Tora and I have been together for 3 years, living together for 1. She's a hairstylist and does social media content on the side, TikTok, Instagram, that whole thing. Very outgoing, loves attention, which I always thought was cool because I'm the opposite. I'm a back-end developer, pretty introverted, just got promoted to tech lead at my company. Here's the thing though. From early on, there were these moments that made me uncomfortable. We'd be at a bar and she'd be touching the bartender's arm while ordering, whispering in the DJ's ear, that kind of stuff. Whenever I mentioned it bothered me, she'd roll her eyes and say, "You're being jealous. I'm just friendly. You know I'm an extrovert." After hearing that enough times, I started thinking maybe I was the problem. Maybe I was being insecure or controlling, so I stopped bringing it up. Fast forward to last Friday night. My team lead Ben organized this rooftop game night at his apartment building to celebrate my promotion. This was huge for me. I've been working toward this promotion for literal 2 years, and I really wanted my coworkers to see that my girlfriend was as awesome as I kept telling them she was. Ben's neighbor Miles came up to help with the music setup. He's an indie musician, plays local bars. Tori recognized him from some show she'd been to and immediately switched into what I can only describe as mode. Touching his arm tattoos, laughing super loud at everything he said, taking photos with her hand on his waist. She was telling these inside jokes about the local music scene like they were old friends, completely ignoring me standing right there. I felt my face getting hot, but I tried to stay calm. When Miles went to grab more drinks, I leaned over to Tora and said quietly, "Hey, can we step outside for a second?" She didn't even look at me. "Why, what's wrong?" "Just, can we talk real quick, won't take long." Now she looked at me and I could see her expression shift. "Are you seriously doing this right now, at your work thing?" I kept my voice low. "I'm not doing anything, I just want to talk about what Lucas." Her voice had gotten louder. A few people nearby glanced over. "Can we please just step outside?" She laughed, but it wasn't a friendly laugh. "Let me guess. You have a problem with me talking to Miles. You're uncomfortable." "Tora, come on, no, seriously." She crossed her arms. "If me just existing and talking to someone bothers you that much, nobody's holding you hostage, Lucas. You know where the exit is." The music was still playing, but I swear the entire rooftop went quiet for a second. Ben froze mid-conversation. Priya's eyes went wide. I stood there for maybe 10 seconds. In that moment, I realized this wasn't the first time she dismissed my feelings. It wasn't even the 10th time, but it was the first time she'd done it in front of other people. The first time she'd literally told me I'd just leave. So I put my drink down, looked at her and said, "Thanks for being clear about that." Then I walked to the elevator and left. Didn't look back, didn't make a scene, just left. I went back to our apartment, packed a bag with my laptop, work clothes, and some essentials and called my buddy Marco. He picked me up within an hour. I've been crashing on his couch since Friday night. Tori got home around 2 a.m. and started blowing up my phone. "What are you doing? This is ridiculous, come home. You're destroying everything over one comment." I only responded once. "I'm just doing what you said. You told me I wasn't being held hostage and the exit was right there, so I left." Now her friends are texting me saying I'm being dramatic, that she didn't mean it literally, that I'm throwing away 3 years over nothing. My own mom even said maybe I should have tried to talk it through first. But here's what keeps running through my mind. She didn't say that in private. She said it loud enough for my coworkers to hear. She told me I wasn't being held hostage and could find the exit at the event celebrating my promotion. And honestly, the relief I felt walking into that elevator was bigger than any sadness. And that says more than I can put into words. So Reddit, did I overreact? Or was I completely justified? Update 1. Thanks for all the support on my last post. Things have gotten interesting. So Sunday night, Tori showed up at Marco's place. She'd been blowing up my phone all weekend and I'd been ignoring it, so she decided to show up in person. She was crying, makeup running down her face, asking Marco to let her see me. Marco is 63 and works as a paramedic. He blocked the doorway completely and said, "Lucas doesn't want to talk. You told him he wasn't being held hostage and could leave. He left. What's confusing about that?" She tried to push past him, insisting she needed to see me, that it was an emergency. He didn't move. "I deal with actual emergencies for a living. This isn't one. You need to go." She stood there for a few more minutes crying, then finally left. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about all the times this had happened before. Not just the bar stuff, there were so many moments where she'd push a boundary, I'd react, she'd flip it around to make it my fault, and I'd end up apologizing. Then the boundary would get pushed even further next time. I'd been so deep in it I couldn't see the pattern. Monday at work was when things started to shift. Ben pulled me aside during our coffee break. "Hey man, I need to say something. The way I talked to you Friday night, that wasn't okay. Everyone heard it. You handled it way better than most people would have." Then Priya sent me a Slack message. "I thought you were going to stay and take it. When you walked to that elevator, I literally thought, finally. You deserve better than that." It hit me that my coworkers had been seeing what I'd been making excuses for. But here's where it gets messy. I started posting on Instagram. A series of black and white stories with captions like, "3 years gone over one small argument. He abandoned me when I'm struggling with my mental health. Sometimes the person you think will always be there just walks away." The implication was clear. I'm cold, emotionally abusive, wouldn't let her be herself or have male friends. She was painting herself as the victim of a guy who just randomly left her. But some of the people from the rooftop party saw those stories, and they didn't let it slide. Priya commented on one. She screenshotted it before it disappeared. "Tori, I was there. You told him he wasn't being held hostage and to find the exit if he had a problem in front of his coworkers. He just did exactly what you said. Don't twist this." Ben commented on one of her actual posts that she'd forgotten to make private. "Just to be clear, Lucas didn't make a scene. You were the one who raised your voice in front of everyone. Don't rewrite what happened." But the comment that really shocked me came from Miles, the musician guy she'd been flirting with. Under one of her posts about her toxic ex-boyfriend, he wrote, "Don't know if this is about Lucas, but from an outside perspective that night, he politely asked to talk privately. You're the one who started yelling. Also, flirting with someone else while you're there with your boyfriend and then calling him insecure when he's uncomfortable. Not a healthy vibe." I deleted the stories, but screenshots had already spread through our mutual friend groups and somehow through my company's social circle too. The narrative she was trying to build, that I was some controlling asshole who abandoned her, collapsed before it could even take hold. Meanwhile, reality started hitting her in other ways. See, our apartment, internet, electricity, phone, family plan, Spotify, Hulu, I'd set all of that up and it auto-charged to my card. After I left, I called the bank and got a new card number. All those payments bounced. She was in the middle of a live stream when the internet cut out. She texted me, "Did you seriously cut off my internet? That's so petty." I sent one email response. "I stopped paying for services I don't use anymore." Adults pay their own bills, Tori. Then there was the car insurance. She'd been on my policy because it was cheaper than getting her own. I removed her. She got the new quote for solo coverage and her premium nearly doubled. She texted, "You're making things financially hard for me on purpose." I didn't respond. By Wednesday, I got an email from our landlord about the lease. We're both on it, but I've been paying 70% of the rent because I made more. I told the landlord I was moving out and wouldn't be renewing when the lease ended. I'd pay my share until then, but that's it. I would either need to find a roommate, pay the full rent herself, or move. Her problem now, not mine. The crazy thing, I thought I'd feel guilty about all this. About the bills, the apartment, leaving her to figure it out. But I just don't. Every time I start to feel bad, I remember her saying I wasn't being held hostage and the exit was right there, said in front of my coworkers at my own celebration, and any guilt evaporates. Marco's been great. His couch is surprisingly comfortable, and yesterday he told me, I've been waiting 3 years for you to realize she didn't respect you. I'm glad you finally saw it. To be honest, it kind of sucks, realizing everyone else could see how toxic that relationship was while I was being completely blind. But at least I see it clearly now. Better late than never, right? Edit. Someone in the comments asked if I was worried about her showing up at my office. Honestly, yeah, that crossed my mind. But I work in a secure building and I've already given the front desk a heads up. If she shows up, they know not to let her up. Update 2. I really hoped I wouldn't need to post again, but here we are. Last Thursday, Tori showed up at my office building. She told the receptionist she was my fiancé, we were never engaged, and needed to see me urgently. The receptionist called me and I came down to the lobby. I kept it short. I don't want to talk privately. If this is about the apartment lease or shared bills, send me an email. She tried to grab my arm. I stepped back. Tori, we're done. You need to leave, or else I'll call the police. She left crying, but I figured that was the end of it. I was wrong. Yesterday she came back, but this time she wasn't alone. She brought Sarah, an HR business partner at my company who Tori had met at some networking event months ago. I guess the plan was to use a neutral third party to force me to listen. Sarah looked uncomfortable from the start, but Tori launched into her version of events. He left without saying goodbye. He ghosted me for days. He's been jealous and controlling for months, and when I finally stood up to him, he abandoned me. He cut me off financially. I just want him to talk to me so we can work this out. Sarah turned to me. Is this how it happened? I stayed calm and told her the truth. The whole rooftop story, how I asked to talk privately, how Tori responded by loudly in front of my coworkers, how I simply did what she told me to. Sarah looked at Tori. Did you say that? Tell him he wasn't being held hostage and to find the exit, out loud in front of his coworkers. Tori stumbled. I mean, what I meant was, if he couldn't handle my personality then. Sarah cut her off. I'm not asking what you meant, I'm asking, did you say those specific words loudly in front of his colleagues? Tori's face went red. She tried to pivot, but he just shut down after that. He won't talk to me. He won't work on our relationship. Sarah's expression changed. She turned to Tori and said something I'll never forget. He doesn't owe you another conversation after you said that. Adults take responsibility for their words. Then she looked at me. If she keeps showing up at your workplace, report it to HR. This isn't a relationship issue anymore, it's a workplace boundaries issue. Before Tori could respond, Sarah looked at her one more time. Tori, you asked me to come here as a favor, but you didn't tell me the full story. Don't drag me into your drama again. Tori was completely speechless. Security escorted them both out. I stood there in the lobby for a minute after they left, just processing what the hell had just happened. Then I went back upstairs. Ben stopped by my desk an hour later. Heard there was drama downstairs. You good? Yeah, I think it's finally over. The relief I felt when I said those words was overwhelming. That evening, I went to look at an apartment, a small one-bedroom about 15 minutes from work. Clean, quiet mine. I signed the lease this morning. When I told Marco, he seemed almost proud. You know what the difference is between 3 days ago and now? 3 days ago, you were still on her leash. Now you're free. You can actually breathe. He's right. I've been sleeping better. Not great, but better. I'm not waking up wondering what I did wrong or how I'll be made to feel crazy today. I'm not checking my phone every 5 minutes to see what I'm being accused of now. The thing that keeps surprising me is how many people have told me they saw this coming. Coworkers, friends, even my sister called and said, I never liked how she talked to you, but I didn't think you'd listen if I said anything. Part of me wishes someone had said something earlier, but another part knows I wouldn't have heard it until I was ready. Tori's been quiet since the office incident. No calls, no texts, no Instagram stories. I don't know if Sarah's words got through to her or if she's just regrouping. Honestly, I don't care anymore. The lease on our old place ends in 6 weeks. I'll pay my share until then, and after that I'm completely done. No more shared bills, no more connection. I'm moving into my new place next weekend. Marco's helping me move, and weirdly, Priya offered to help too. I want to see you actually get settled in a place where you're not walking on eggshells, she said. That phrase stuck with me, walking on eggshells. That's what the last 3 years felt like, and I didn't even realize it until I stepped off them. Final update. I really didn't think I'd be posting again. The last update felt like closure. But after what happened last week, I need to get this out. So about a month ago, I met someone, Ashley, data analyst, calm, straightforward, completely different from Tori. We met at a friend's birthday party and just clicked. We'd been on maybe 4 or 5 dates. Nothing serious yet, but it felt healthy. Easy. I wasn't overthinking every word or waiting for the other shoe to drop. Last Tuesday, Ashley texted asking if we could meet up to talk. The message had that tone, you know. My stomach dropped, but I said sure. We met at the coffee shop near my apartment. She looked uncomfortable, wouldn't really make eye contact. Then she said, "I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me. Did you really abandon your ex-girlfriend when she was struggling with her mental health? And were you controlling about who she could be friends with?" I just stared at her. "What? Who told you that?" "A woman named Tori reached out to me on Instagram yesterday. She said she was your ex." My blood went cold, then hot, then cold again. Ashley continued, "She sent me screenshots of texts between you two. Said you isolated her from her friends, got jealous if she talked to other guys, and then just left her without explanation. She was crying in her voice messages." Voice messages. Tori had sent Ashley voice messages crying about me. I took a breath. "Can I see what she sent you?" Ashley showed me her phone. The screenshots were real texts between Tori and me, but they were cropped, carefully cropped. Like one from when I'd asked her not to go to her ex's birthday party because he'd been texting her inappropriately. In Tori's screenshot to Ashley, you could only see my message. "I really don't feel comfortable with you going to his party." It looked controlling. What you couldn't see was the context, the previous messages where I'd shown her the text from her ex literally asking her to leave me. I felt this weird calm come over me. I'd been patient for 3 years with Tori. I'd been the bigger person when I left. I'd stayed quiet when she tried to trash me on social media, but going after Ashley, that crossed a line I didn't even know I had. "Ashley, I'm going to tell you exactly what happened. Then I'm going to make sure Tori never does this again." I told her everything. The rooftop party, the exact words Tori said, everything. Then I pulled out my phone. "I'm going to show you something I've never shown anyone." I opened my Google Photos. After the rooftop incident, I'd screenshotted some things. I showed Ashley all of it. Full text conversations showing the context Tori had cropped out. Screenshots of Tori's Instagram stories from after I left, the ones claiming I was abusive. The comments from my coworkers defending me. Text messages from Tori's friends after we broke up, some apologizing to me because they'd seen how she treated me. Ashley's expression changed as she scrolled. "Oh my God." She paused, looking back at me hesitantly. "I'm so sorry. I should have asked you first before." "No," I cut her off. "You did the right thing. If someone's ex reaches out with warnings, you should listen. I'm glad you're careful, but now I need to deal with this." Ashley looked worried. "What are you going to do?" "I'm going to make sure everyone knows exactly who Tori is." That night I did something I never thought I'd do. I made a detailed Instagram post. I didn't name Tori, but I didn't have to. I wrote, "PSA, if my ex-girlfriend contacts anyone I'm dating or friends with to warn them about me, please know. 1. I have screenshots of the full context of any cropped text she might show you. 2. Multiple witnesses can verify what actually happened. 3. I left because she publicly told me to after I called her out for something that made me uncomfortable, so I did. 4. Trying to sabotage someone's new relationship months after you told them to leave is not concern, it's harassment. I've been quiet out of respect for what we had, but interfering with my life after we've been done for months crosses a line. This is your one warning." Then I tagged every single person who had been at the rooftop party, including Miles the musician, including Ben and the coworkers. Within an hour, people started responding. Ben commented, "Can confirm every word, Priya. Receipts don't lie," and so on. But here's where it gets interesting. The next morning, I woke up to my phone blowing up. Tori had apparently seen my Instagram story and responded with her own post. It's sad when people rewrite history to make themselves the hero. I tried to warn someone about a man's concerning behavior and now I'm being harassed by him and his friends. This is exactly the controlling behavior I was worried about. The comments on her post were not what she expected. Because remember, a lot of my coworkers follow her from before, and people from the rooftop party, and even some of her own friends who'd seen how things actually went down. Top comments: "Girl, I was there. Stop lying. You told him he could leave and he left. Now you're stalking his new girlfriend. That's concerning behavior. Tori, I know we're friends, but this is not it. You can't crop screenshots and call it warning someone. That's manipulation." But my favorite comment came from Miles. "Just so everyone's clear, I'm the guy from the party she was flirting with. She never mentioned having a boyfriend. When he politely asked to talk privately about it, she told him to leave in front of everyone. Now she's playing victim. Nah, take accountability." Tori deleted the post within 3 hours, but the screenshots had already spread. Then came the fallout I didn't expect. Tori's TikTok account, where she has like 50K followers, started getting comments, people asking about the drama. She tried to ignore it, but then someone posted a stitch of one of her videos with the caption POV. "You told your boyfriend nobody's holding you hostage, so he left, and now months later you're trying to sabotage his new relationship." It got 200K views. Her comments section became a war zone. She had to turn them off on all her posts. Ashley and I met up again on Friday. She brought coffee and said, "I'm really sorry I doubted you even for a day." "You didn't doubt me," I said. "You did your due diligence. That's smart. I just wish Tori hadn't put you in that position." "So?" Ashley looked nervous. "Where does this leave us?" Honestly, I'd been thinking about that. Part of me wondered if this drama was too much too soon. If Ashley would want to run for the hills, but she'd handled it with maturity. She'd asked questions. She'd listened to evidence. She'd given me a chance to explain. That's all I could ask for. "I still want to get to know you," I said. "If you're still interested, but I understand if this is too much baggage," she smiled. "I've met your ex. She seems exhausting. You, on the other hand, seem like someone who just wants peace. I'm interested in the person who walked away from drama, not the person trying to create it. So yeah, we're still seeing each other, taking it slow, but it feels right." As for Tori, I blocked her on everything after the Instagram post. So did Ashley. I heard through the grapevine that she privated all her social media accounts and took a break from posting. Apparently the backlash was affecting her content creation income. Part of me, a very small part, feels bad about that. The rest of me remembers her sending crying voice messages to Ashley, trying to destroy something good before it even started, and I feel absolutely nothing. Tori wanted to see me get angry. She finally did. And now she knows exactly what happens when you push someone too far. I'm sleeping fine at night. My apartment is quiet. Ashley and I are planning a hiking trip next weekend. Work is good. Marco is teaching me how to make his famous chili. And Tori is finally completely out of my life. Honestly, best decision I ever made was walking through that exit she pointed out. Second best decision was making sure she couldn't follow me through it. My girlfriend told me to call an Uber after my accident. That was the moment I stopped seeing her the same way. So I have been dating Madison for about 8 months now. Things have been good, not perfect, but good enough that I was starting to think about where this might be heading long term. The relationship has been pretty low-key. I work as a strategy consultant. She's an account manager at a marketing agency. On paper, we're both just regular professionals grinding away in the corporate world. Normal stuff. Here's the thing about me that Madison doesn't know: I don't really talk about money or what I actually do in detail. I tell people I consult on strategy for a few companies, which is technically true, but I leave out that I'm also a silent partner in a private investment group. 3 of us started it about 6 years ago, and it's grown into something pretty substantial. We have equity stakes in about 15 companies at this point, and I'm responsible for vendor and agency selection for a handful of them. It's not about being secretive exactly, it's just, I've learned that money changes how people see you. I've had relationships in the past where things shifted once someone found out about the investment stuff. Suddenly I wasn't just me anymore, I was opportunity or status or a meal ticket. So now I keep it quiet. I drive a decent but not flashy car, wear normal clothes from regular stores, live in a nice but reasonable apartment in a good neighborhood. Nothing screams money. Madison thinks I'm just a regular corporate consultant making decent money. And honestly, that's been fine. She's never asked for details, never seemed interested in my finances beyond the basic. Can he afford to split nice dinners level? I appreciated that about her. So anyway, last Tuesday I was driving back from a client site meeting about 2 hours outside the city. Small manufacturing company, one of our portfolio investments, having some supply chain issues they needed strategic advice on. Pretty routine stuff. I was on I-90, traffic was moving fine, actually making good time. I'd got a podcast playing, sun was starting to get low in the sky, and I was thinking about what to grab for dinner. Then this SUV in the next lane, big black Escalade, didn't see me when they merged over. I didn't even have time to lay on the horn. Just this split second of realizing what was about to happen and bracing. We collided, not at high speed, but hard enough that my car spun out and I hit the median barrier on the driver's side. The airbags deployed, and there was this moment of complete disorientation where I didn't know which way was up, couldn't see anything through the powder from the airbags, couldn't hear anything over the ringing in my ears. Then everything stopped moving. I did a mental inventory. Hands worked, feet worked, could turn my head. There was something wet running down my face, and when I touched it, my hand came away bloody. My shoulder was screaming where the seatbelt caught me, but I could move it. The car smelled like burnt rubber and chemicals from the airbags. I managed to get the door open. It was stuck at first but gave way and stumbled out onto the shoulder. The Escalade driver was out of his car too, on the phone, looked panicked but unhurt. Traffic was slowing down, people rubbernecking. I was just standing there, shaking, trying to process what just happened. I was okay, mostly. The cut on my forehead was from where my head bounced off something during the spin, through a pillar probably, and it was bleeding pretty good, but head wounds always bleed a lot. My shoulder hurt like hell where the seatbelt locked up. And I was pretty shaken up, that full-body adrenaline tremor you get after something like this. But I was conscious, I could move everything and nothing felt broken. Could have been so much worse. Highway patrol showed up, then EMTs. They checked me out, cleaned up my forehead and said I should get looked at properly, but I didn't need an ambulance. The cop was nice about it, helped me deal with the other driver's information. My car was definitely not drivable, front end was crushed, fluids leaking everywhere. The tow truck was on its way. I was standing there on the side of the highway, head throbbing, shoulder killing me, and I realized I needed someone to pick me up. The EMT already told me I shouldn't drive even if my car was working, possible concussion, shock, you know the drill. So I called Madison. It went to voicemail. I tried again, voicemail again. I wasn't panicking yet, she was probably just in a meeting or something. I sent her a text. Hey, I was just in an accident on I-90. I'm okay, but the car is totaled. Can you come get me? It's about 15 minutes from the city. Then I waited. The cop was finishing up the report. The tow truck guy was loading my car. I was just sitting on the guardrail holding a gauze pad to my forehead, waiting for my girlfriend to call me back. 25 minutes later, my phone buzzed. Text from Madison. OMG, seriously. I'm literally in the middle of the biggest presentation of my career right now. I can't just leave the conference room. Can you call an Uber or something? I'm so sorry, babe, but this client is huge for me. I read it twice. Then I read it again. The highway patrol officer walked over. Your ride coming? He asked. I looked at the message on my screen. At the dried blood on my hand. At my destroyed car being pulled onto the flatbed. Yeah, I said. I'll figure it out. I opened Uber and requested a ride. Sat there for another 20 minutes waiting for the driver, next to a cop who kept glancing at me like he was concerned I might pass out. When the Uber finally arrived, some college kid who looked nervous about the blood on my shirt, I got in and went home. Madison didn't text again for another 3 hours. When she did, it was, OMG babe, I'm so sorry, the presentation ran so long. "Are you okay? How bad was it? I feel terrible I couldn't leave, but this client is literally going to make my whole year if we land them." I just replied, "I'm fine, going to rest for a few days." She sent back a bunch of heart emojis and "love you, talk tomorrow." I didn't respond. I'm not even angry exactly. I'm just cold, like something clicked off in my brain. I keep replaying that moment standing on the side of the highway reading "Can you call an Uber or something?" while I'm bleeding, and I just can't stop thinking, this is who she is. When it comes down to it, I'm a scheduling inconvenience. I know people have jobs and obligations, but there's something about this that feels different. It's not that she couldn't leave the presentation, it's that she didn't even seem to consider whether she should. Am I overreacting? Part of me thinks maybe I'm being unreasonable. It was an important career moment for her. But another part of me keeps hearing "call an Uber" echoing in my head and feeling like I just got a glimpse of what our entire future would look like. I don't know what to do with this feeling. Update 1, posted 3 days later. So this is going to sound insane, but something happened that's made this situation so much more complicated than I expected. First, thanks for all the comments on my original post. A lot of you said I should just break up with her immediately. Some said I should at least talk to her about it. I was leaning toward having a serious conversation, because 8 months deserves at least that much, right? But then Wednesday morning, I got an email, and everything got weird. I should explain something I left out of the original post. When I said I'm a silent partner in an investment group, what I mean is that I'm one of 3 partners who make final decisions on which vendors and agencies we work with for our portfolio companies. We deliberately keep our identities quiet. The companies we invest in work with client representatives who handle day-to-day stuff, but major decisions filter up to us. It's a structure that lets us evaluate agencies and consultants more objectively because they don't know who's really making the final call. So Wednesday at 8 a.m., I got an email from our portfolio manager with the subject line, "Final Agency Selection, Q4 Brand Strategy Initiative." My heart sank before I even opened it. The email was a summary of Tuesday's presentations. Yes, Tuesday, the same day as my accident, for a major rebranding project for one of our key portfolio companies. 3 agencies presented. The email included scorecards, recommendations, and next steps. Madison's agency was one of the 3. I sat there staring at my laptop for probably 10 minutes straight. The presentation she couldn't leave, the biggest client of her career, was my company. Well, my investment group's company. I'm listed in our internal docs as the final decision maker for this specific project. She had no idea. How could she? We've never discussed my work in detail. She knows I consult on strategy and that's it. When I told her I couldn't really talk about clients due to NDAs, she just shrugged and said she got it because she couldn't talk about her pitches either. It never came up. I went back and looked at the timeline. The accident happened at 3:47 p.m. according to the police report. I texted her at 4:02 p.m. She responded at 4:27 p.m. saying she was in the presentation. The portfolio manager's email said the agency presentations ran from 2:00 to 5:30 p.m. with Madison's agency going 3:00 to 4:15 p.m. Here's the part that made me feel sick. When I texted Madison at 3:02 p.m., she was already in the middle of her presentation. Okay, fine, I can understand not being able to step out. But she didn't respond until 4:27 p.m. That's 25 minutes later. She must have done with her presentation by then. She could have stepped out. She could have excused herself, said there was a family emergency, and left. The other people from her agency were there. They could have handled the remaining questions, but she chose not to. The presentations ran until 5:30 p.m. because there were 2 other agencies going after Madison's slot, and the client wasn't going to announce a decision that day. There was no reason she needed to stay for the other presentations except to network, to schmooze, to maintain her professional presence. So when I was standing on the highway bleeding, calling an Uber because my girlfriend told me to, she was probably shaking hands, exchanging business cards, laughing at someone's joke about Q4 deadlines. She chose to stay and play the game rather than leave early to pick up her boyfriend who'd just been in a car accident. That hit differently than I expected. Madison came over Wednesday night. She brought food and was super apologetic, kept saying how sorry she was that she couldn't come get me, how the presentation was just impossible to leave. She told me the pitch went incredibly well and that the client seemed really impressed with her specifically. I just nodded and said that was great. She didn't notice I was being distant, or if she did, she assumed it was because of the accident. She kept touching my shoulder gently, asking if I needed anything, playing the concerned girlfriend role now that the career priority was handled. At one point she said, "I really think we're going to land this one. It would change everything for me at the agency." "That's good," I said. "I hope it works out for you." What I didn't say, I'm the person who decides if it works out for you. I've been thinking about this nonstop for 3 days. Part of me knows I should just tell her, but there's something stopping me. I think I want to see what happens naturally. I want to see how she acts, what she prioritizes, how she talks about this client versus how she talks about me. Is that manipulative? Maybe. But I'm genuinely curious. Because I'm starting to realize I never really saw who Madison is when she thinks status and career are on the line. I've been the stable boyfriend with a decent job. I've never been competition for her ambitions. The portfolio manager wants a decision by next week. I told him to proceed with the normal evaluation process, no special considerations. I'm not going to tank her agency because of personal issues. That would be unethical and honestly just cruel. But I'm also not going to save her if the pitch wasn't actually good enough. I'm just going to see what happens when someone who prioritizes status over people gets exactly what they deserve, nothing more, nothing less. Update 2, posted 1 week later. I need to talk this out because I'm honestly not sure how I feel about what happened last night. Madison has been over at my place more this past week than usual. She's been sweet, attentive, asking about my shoulder and my head. But there's this undercurrent to everything. She keeps steering conversations back to the pitch. The client, she calls them. Never by company name because of her NDA, I guess. Last night we were having dinner and she was on her phone constantly, checking email. Finally she looked up and said, "I'm sorry, I'm just obsessed with this pitch. We should hear back any day now." I put down my fork. "Can I ask you something?" "Of course," she said, but her eyes flicked back to her phone. "If the presentation hadn't been happening that day, would you have come to get me?" She looked up then, really looked at me. "What?" "The accident. If you hadn't been in that specific presentation, would you have left work to pick me up?" I watched her face carefully. She started to say something, stopped, then tried again. "Babe, I mean it depends on what was happening at work. You know how it is." "Do I?" I leaned forward. "What time did your presentation end?" She blinked. "What? Your pitch? What time did it end?" "I don't. Around 4:15, I think." "Why does that matter? And what time did I text you?" She pulled out her phone, scrolled back. 4:02 p.m. "Right, and you answered at 4:27, 25 minutes later." I kept my voice level. "So you were done pitching by then, weren't you?" Her face changed. "John, you could have left after your pitch was done. The other agencies were going after you. You didn't need to stay." "That's not how it works," she said, her voice getting defensive. "You can't just pitch and run. You need to stay, answer follow-up questions, be present, show you're invested in the opportunity." "Show you're professional," I said. "Yes, exactly. Leaving early would have looked unprofessional. More unprofessional than leaving your boyfriend bleeding on the highway." She stood up. "That's not fair. You're making it sound like I had all these options. I was in a professional situation. I had to stay." "You chose to stay," I corrected. "There's a difference." "And I said I was sorry after that. Why are you still upset about this? It was literally the most important presentation of my career." "I'm not upset," I said, and I wasn't. I was just observing. "I'm just trying to understand the logic, where I fall in your priority list." "That's not fair," she said. "You know how hard I've worked for this opportunity. This client could change my entire trajectory at the agency. I could make senior account manager, maybe even get a director track started." "And if they don't choose your agency?" I asked. She laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. Then I'll find another big client. That's how this works. You can't let personal stuff derail your career growth. You have to be strategic. There it was, personal stuff. That's what I was when I was bleeding on the highway, personal stuff that could derail career growth. What if I told you, I said slowly, that your career and your personal life weren't separate categories, that the person you're with should be part of what makes your life successful, not something you manage around? She stared at me. John, what is this? Are you really going to hold one emergency against me forever? I had to make a choice in the moment. I chose my career. I'm not apologizing for that. I'm not asking you to apologize, I said. I'm asking you to think about what that choice means. It means I'm ambitious, she shot back. It means I'm not going to throw away years of work because my boyfriend had a fender bender. My car was totaled. I had a concussion. But sure, fender bender. We didn't really talk the rest of the night. She left around 10 p.m., kissed me on the cheek, said she loved me. I said it back automatically, but the words felt hollow. This morning I got a text from her. I'm sorry about last night. I know you're hurt that I couldn't come get you, but I need you to understand I can't let emotions get in the way of professional decisions. That's not how you build a career. I read that message probably 20 times. She's not wrong exactly. You do have to make professional decisions professionally. But there's something in how she said it, can't let emotions get in the way, that crystallized everything for me. I'm not a person to her in those moments. I'm an emotion. Something to be managed, worked around, compartmentalized until it's convenient. The portfolio manager emailed me this morning too. The evaluation committee has finished their review. They're recommending we go with one of the other two agencies. Madison's agency did well on strategy and creative, but there were concerns about judgment and client relationship management from the lead account manager. That lead account manager was Madison. The evaluation team doesn't know about my personal connection. They're not supposed to know which partner requested which project. But somehow they picked up on exactly what I saw. When push comes to shove, she can't read the room about what actually matters. I haven't made the final decision yet. I could overrule the recommendation. I could give her agency the contract. Part of me wonders if I should, just to keep my personal and professional lives separate. But then I think about what she said. You can't let emotions get in the way of professional decisions. She's right. And professionally, her team showed a lack of empathy and situational judgment that makes them a risk for long-term client relationships. I'm approving the committee's recommendation tomorrow. She's going to get exactly what she says she wants, a purely professional decision, made without emotions getting in the way. And then I'm going to have to figure out what to do about us. Final update, posted 2 weeks later, it's over. Everything is over, and honestly I think I'm okay with it. Last Thursday, Madison's agency got the official rejection. Standard stuff. Thank you for your time. We were impressed with your strategic thinking, but we've decided to move forward with another partner at this time. Madison texted me about an hour after she got the news. She was destroyed. I don't understand what went wrong. We nailed that pitch. I know we did. The client seemed so engaged. I told her to come over that evening. I figured we needed to have the conversation in person about everything. She showed up around 7, eyes red from crying. She'd been at the office all afternoon in damage control meetings with her boss. Apparently losing this pitch was a huge blow to the agency. They'd been counting on it. I just don't get it, she kept saying, pacing around my living room. We did everything right. Our strategy was solid. The creative was innovative. What did we miss? I was sitting on the couch watching her spiral. Maybe they wanted someone with better judgment, I said quietly. She stopped pacing. What? Maybe they needed an agency that could read situations correctly, know what actually matters in the moment. John, what are you talking about? I'd left my laptop open on the coffee table. The email was still up on the screen. Our internal project name, my signature in the CC line. Madison's eyes landed on it. I watched her face as she processed what she was seeing. The company name, the project title, my name listed as final approval partner. Wait, she said, her voice got very small. Wait, that's the client, that's my client. I said. Was your client. She stared at the screen, then at me, then back at the screen. You're the client this whole time. I'm one of the decision makers, yes, silent partner, that's why you never knew. I watched her do the math, when the pitch was, when the accident was, her face went white. Oh my God, she whispered. When I told you to call an Uber, I was pitching to you. To the company I control, yes. She sat down hard on the arm of the couch. But did you reject us because of? Because of what? I asked. Because you chose a presentation over picking up your bleeding boyfriend. No, Madison, I didn't touch the decision. The evaluation team made the recommendation based purely on the pitch and the agency's fit. What recommendation? That your team showed strong strategic thinking but questionable judgment in client relationship management. She made a sound like I'd punched her. That was about me, they meant me. Probably, I agreed. The lead account manager who couldn't recognize when a situation required human response over professional posturing. You son of a bitch, she said, but there was no heat in it. You let me, you watched me. I watched you show me exactly who you are, I said. Who you've always been, she stood up. I need to go, I need to think. Before you do, I said, tell me something honestly. If you'd known I was the client that day, would you have come? She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. I don't know, she finally said. And that was it, really, I don't know. After 8 months together, after I'd been in a car accident, after everything, she didn't know if I'd be worth choosing over a career opportunity. I think you do know, I said quietly. You just don't want to say it out loud. She left. Didn't say goodbye, didn't slam the door, just left. She texted me the next day. Long paragraphs about how I'd set her up and manipulated the situation. How I should have told her from the start. How it was unethical to let her pitch without knowing. How I'd sabotaged her career because my ego couldn't handle her being ambitious. I didn't respond to most of it. Then she tried calling a few times. Left voicemails saying we could work through this, that she understood now why I was upset, that she'd made a mistake. But she only understood after she found out who I was. When she thought I was just regular consultant John, I was supposed to be fine with being told to call an Uber. It's been a week. I haven't answered any of her attempts to reach out. I did send one final text yesterday. I hope you find the success you're looking for. But you were right about one thing, you can't let emotions derail professional decisions. We're just not compatible. Take care of yourself. Then I blocked her number. I'm doing okay. My shoulder still hurts when it rains, and I've got a scar on my forehead that's probably permanent, but I'm okay. I started going to this coffee shop near my place in the mornings just to have a routine that isn't about work or relationships. Met a woman there last week who complimented the book I was reading. We talked for like 45 minutes about nothing in particular. She has no idea what I do for work, and I didn't ask about hers. It was just nice. I don't know if I'm ready to date again, but I know what I'm looking for now. Someone who sees me as a person first, not as a career move or a scheduling conflict. Someone who would have gotten in the car that Tuesday, presentation be damned, because the person they care about was hurt. That accident didn't injure me as badly as it could have. But in a weird way, it saved me from something worse, being with someone who would always be measuring my worth against her next opportunity. I'm good with that.